Hello everyone and welcome to today's edition of Live Calm with Andy. Today we're going to be talking about mental endurance, a little bit of physical endurance as well, and we're going to specifically talk about ways that you can start implementing this into your life in order to live hopefully a calmer life, but also in order to overcome obstacles in your path and allow you to lead a better life. So what is mental endurance first of all? What is mental resilience? Essentially and fundamentally, it is developing habit. So you're developing the habits that are going to allow you to achieve what you want to achieve in spite of the perceived, very often perceived and occasionally actual obstacles that you're going to have to endure and overcome in order to do so. So in the course of this video, we're going to go over 3 of the key steps that you're going to have to master in order to be able to do this. And we will start that off next by talking about endurance. Endurance, what is endurance and what is it that you can do in order to cultivate this? Essentially, to endure, if you were to look up in a dictionary, which I've not done, it would essentially say something along these lines, which is endurance is the ability to tolerate and to push through for lengthy periods of time, physical or mental discomfort. And so, how are we able to implement endurance? Well, endurance can be many things. Obviously, many of us will think of endurance in terms of physical activity. Many of us will think of endurance sports, running, long distance, swimming, cycling, rowing, long distances. These are all forms of physical endurance, and to a greater or lesser extent, physically enduring is one fantastic method of developing endurance. There is naturally within physical endurance also the element of discomfort. We physically, as we exercise and as we become tired and as our body becomes fatigued, will start to experience physical discomfort. In the working muscles, we will start to experience discomfort in our respiratory rate. Our lungs will be on fire if we have been exercising hard, and we will also start to experience the second component, which is mental endurance, which is essentially when our brains will start screaming at us very, very loudly that it is now time to stop. So, how are we as normal human beings supposed to, in a day-to-day way, every day, manage to endure and to train our endurance? Because essentially endurance, in the same way that you would train a muscle in order to become better at it, you would train a skill in order to become better at that skill. Endurance, you also want to be training every single day. And it's not obviously practicable or feasible in order to be enduring physical activity of 4 or 5 hours cycling, 2 to 3 hours of running every single day, unless we are, of course, professional athletes in those areas. It's not something that we can do. It's not something that we can hope to be able to do either. We can do these things, and actually I would encourage you, where possible, do try to take up some form of physical activity that is not just light and brisk, but is in fact a little bit more arduous if you're physically capable of it. One of the best ways to develop endurance as a practice is to do what I'm about to recommend daily, and then take that into these longer endurance periods when we are exercising, running, swimming, cycling, whatever you most enjoy. But how do we incorporate this into every day? How do we get our daily endurance, our sort of our +1, the concept of +1, doing what you would normally do and then just that little bit extra? Well, what I would recommend, and what has been particularly beneficial for myself and for several other people that I know and have recommended this to, is to start by setting aside time. Set aside the time every day and commit to it. Make a commitment to yourself and say, I am going to do this every single day, regardless. It can be as little as 1 minute, it can be as little as 2 minutes. But pick something that you know that day you're going to do. I would highly recommend one of the methods of doing it, which is cold showers. Every morning when I'm in the shower, I will stand and I will endure a minimum of 1 minute of a cold shower, regardless of whether I am going to enjoy that or I am not. Because there's some days you will find that whatever it is you're supposed to be enduring, you will enjoy. It will not be difficult. And you will think, have I done enough? And if the answer is no, go and choose something else that day. But cold showers is by far and away one of the easiest ways to pick something to endure. Other ways of doing it, you can decide that you are going to do some sort of aerobic exercise position. You could choose to do a squat, you could choose to do burpees, you could choose to do push-ups, you can choose anything. Those are obviously physical examples. A cold shower is also a physical example, but there are mental components to all of these. And basically choose to do as much of whatever you are choosing to do as you can for as long as you think you can. And if you've still got a bit more capacity, do a little bit more. And you're going to do it. And if you are not looking forward to it when you're about to start, that's how you know that the challenge is at the right level. So every day, choose a length of time and go and endure. So you're now thinking to yourself, well, I have selected my endurance task. I have decided that every day I am going to, for 2 minutes, continuously do push-ups without stopping. I'm going to do that every morning when I wake up. I'm going to immediately set a 2-minute timer and I'm going to do push-ups, as many as I can, and then a few more continuously for 2 minutes. I'm going to do it to the point where I feel very, very uncomfortable by the end. Well, how should you be doing that? Because it's all well to say, I am going to put myself through some form of physical suffering. Is there any benefit to that? Well, in and of itself, just enduring something for the sake of it, having a terrible experience and not enjoying it, isn't going to bring you any particular benefits. So, the first thing that you must do and incorporate into these sessions is you're going to want to try and manage your physiology. Now, if you've not watched any of my previous content on meditative practices, and you would like to do so, please go and check that out. If you're not someone who regularly does meditation or does breath work, I would highly recommend that you either look at my videos or go and find someone else and begin doing it. But essentially for today, what I'll tell you is the one method that you can do that's guaranteed to work is you're going to want to breathe in for a number of counts, number of seconds, and then hold that for a couple of seconds and then breathe out. And the real secret to that type of breathing is you're going to want to breathe in for less time than you are going to breathe out. So if you breathe in for 4 seconds and then hold for 2, you're going to want to breathe out there for 6 seconds or for 5 seconds or for 8 seconds, as long as you can manage, but you're going to want to breathe out for longer than you are breathing in. And you're going to want to do all of that breathing as slowly as you can. What this is going to do, and you feel free to try out the opposite just now, which is when we start something that is particularly vigorous and challenging for the body, we are going to experience the fight or flight system kicking in. Our adrenaline's going to go up, our heart rate is going to go up, our breathing rate is going to go up, our core body temperature is going to increase because our body is anticipating that it is going to have to put out physical demand, which is going to lead to it warming up all of the systems that allow you to do that. So, if you want to experience that, then right now I would highly recommend you attempt to, for a very short period of time and not until the point where you are about to pass out, try just hyperventilate and do it right now. And if you do that and continue doing that, what you're going to begin to experience is that your body starts to get really G'd up. You start to feel very uncomfortable. You may notice that your vision starts to get all black and speckly. And essentially what that is your body is now becoming oversaturated with oxygen. And even in the absence of actual physical activity, in the absence of running or in the absence of lifting weights or in the absence of any of these things, physiologically increasing your respiration rate is going to cause your body to speed up and enter into that fight or flight mode. The opposite of that is slow breathing. And if you notice there, I said that when we're hyperventilating, we're increasing the amount of oxygen in our blood. What we're doing when we're breathing in for a little period and then breathing out for longer is we are essentially redressing that balance. We're trying to reduce the amount of oxygen that's coming in, and we are looking to increase the amount of CO2 that's left over in our bodies. So we are and calming down. Is this going to immediately shut off our fight or flight systems? Is this going to immediately relax ourselves from our endurance task? Now, for anyone who's done cold showering before, anyone who's thinking of attempting this method, what you're going to notice is the very, very last thing that you're going to want to do when you are experiencing real high drive fight or flight is to breathe. Your brain is going to be going, sugar, and is going to want you to essentially get away from the source of the cold. It's going to want you to discontinue from doing your push-ups. It's going to want you to discontinue from running at an intense pace, from cycling and pedaling hard as quickly as possible. But by taking control of that breath, slowing it down, what you're going to do is you are going to say to your body, no, I am not done yet. I am going to continue on, and I am going to soothe you, and I'm going to calm you down and allow you to go just a little bit further than what you did before. Other thing to be very aware of, particularly if you're going to do cold showering or if you are going to do some form of endurance exercise where it's running, cycling, etc., is your body quite naturally, it's not quite the same when you're doing press-ups because your musculature, you're more aware of the contractile and relaxing muscle fibers. But if you're doing cold exposure, you're doing running, what you're going to find is your body is going to naturally store tension in the muscles. Particular places people will always store tension is all along here, in the back, in the upper back, in the neck, in the shoulders. We're all going to get hunched and tight up, particularly if you're getting cold water. Right down on the back of your head, you're going to be bunching up like this. And you, on top of your breathing, also need to be closing your eyes, feeling your body and going, right, where are things tense? Where do I need to relax? And you're going to do that. And that is going to also send signals to your body that we are not ready, G'd up for the fight. We are relaxing. We are taking control of this situation. And so that is the number one most important step that you need to do immediately in your daily endurance practice in order to help to start to regulate your body. Once you're getting really good at doing this during your daily regulated activity of 2, 5, 10 minutes, however long it is that you're doing these activities for, what you'll begin to find is that you notice that there are times during your day-to-day life where you are also becoming stressed, worked up, hyped up, you're feeling anxious, you have, things that you're doing that you really don't want to do, they really, really suck, and you're essentially going to sit yourself down and you're going to say, right, I'm going to breathe, I'm going to feel through my body where is the tension, and I'm going to relax those muscles. And I've found that with regular practice of doing this, what I've actually become able to do is get to the point where I go from something where I am super tense and super, riled up and ready to move, but I, have to sit stationary. And I can go from that, and within the space of maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes, I can go from that to then being at a point where I'm so relaxed that my body's going, it's now time for sleep. And I'm then going, right, well, I need to try and wake myself up again. But essentially that is what you're going to do, and that is how you're going to practice your endurance in order to instigate benefit from the practice and not just suffer through something that really, really sucks. And so on to our third point. So we've now built our endurance practice, number one. Number two, we have implemented the first step of reaping benefit from this. So we're not just standing under a cold shower. We are not just, running for an hour on the weekend because, we just really like to suffer and we are enduring it because, we really hate ourselves. It's not masochistic. It's deliberate, purposeful exposure to something that is then going to allow you to take control of the situation. And so we've implemented strategies. We are breathed as best we can slowly in for a count of between 2 and 5 seconds and out for a count of between 6 and 8 seconds with a little pause of a couple of seconds in the middle. We have felt through our body where is the tension, and we have gone relax. We are physically feeling our muscles and we're telling them relax. Shoulders relax, legs relax. We are possibly also, even beyond that, actually going as far as to play limp. You know, if it's really, really something that we're struggling with, if we're sitting down, we can go limp. If we're standing and we're in a shower, we can physically tense ourselves up and go, let our muscles relax, womp down, feel the relaxation. And so what's the final step of this practice that we need to do? What is it that we are hoping to do? What is it that is allowing this sort of physical resilience that we are tolerating that's then going to allow this to develop into mental resilience? And essentially the way to build this into mental resilience, and the number one key, is to do something which in CBT, again, not something that I'm certified to talk about, but something that I have a little bit of knowledge on, and it's something that here I'm going to borrow and give to you, is basically to set up what they call a thought experiment. And so we'll take the example of your push-ups, which we were talking about before. I am going to do, tomorrow morning, I'm going to wake up and I'm going to do 2 minutes of continuous press-ups. And I'm going to do that without stopping. I'm not going to allow myself to rest on the floor. If I want to rest, I'm going to rest in the top position with my arms out, still feeling pressure and tension on my body, and I'm going to go down and up and down and up, and I'm going to do that. Once I've done that, and I've been doing that for a few days, my body is going to get used to do it. It's going to become part of my routine. I might not like starting it, but it's going to reach the point eventually where that's not something that challenges me. And so you then need to start thinking of ways to continue that effect. And there's various ways of doing that. And the thought experiment here is essentially you setting yourself up to be able to challenge yourself in different ways and come up with ways of making it fun. So what is a thought experiment? A thought experiment is essentially the practice of devising something in your mind, something that you think is not possible for you to do. If you're at all familiar with Ross Edgley, the YouTuber who does the long distance swimming around the UK, and we've also very recently had a British gentleman called the Hardest Geezer who has run the length of Africa. He was averaging 48 kilometres of running every day. It's taken him like a year to do this. It's incredible. That is something, that man, when he first devised that, when Ross Edgley first devised his swim round the UK, he sat and thought, what is something that I think is so difficult that people are not going to believe one human being is capable of doing that? And you yourself can do this. It doesn't need to be done in a big, grandiose way. If you are someone who wants to swim around the United Kingdom, or wants to run the length of Africa, or wants to, Sir Ranulph Fiennes did a expedition of the globe where he went pole to pole, horizontally around the earth. Crazy stuff like this, the great Victorian explorers going on their grand pilgrimages to the South and North Pole for the first time. You can go and do that, absolutely feel free, but essentially a thought experiment is you are setting up something in your head that you think is impossible. So if what you think just now is impossible is 30 seconds of cold showering every morning, you are going to do that. And what you're going to do is, whilst you're in the process of designing what to do, you're going to say, right, I am going to cold shower, I'm going to do press-ups. And I do not think currently this is possible, but I'm going to do it anyway. And then what you'll do is you'll go and do that thing. And whilst you're doing that thing, you're going to be doing all of the physiological relaxation techniques that we've talked about. And then once you've done it, you are going to review. So you have set up the experiment, which is whatever endurance time period you're setting aside. And once you've done that, you are then going to do an end of experiment review Today I said I was going to do push-ups continually for 2 minutes. Today I only managed 1 minute and 30 seconds. Have I failed? Well, no. Because failure would be if I must do this for 2 minutes and wasn't able to achieve it. However, if my experiment was to see if I could do 2 minutes of it, the experiment might have failed, but my experiment hasn't failed entirely. All it's done is it's proven that I was able to do it for 1.5 minutes. And so what's the natural answer to this? What's the natural outcome? Well, the natural answer and outcome of this is tomorrow I'm going to try and do it for 1 minute and 35 seconds. I'm going to do it for 1 minute and 40 seconds until you then work back up and get to your 2 minutes. And at that point you go, I thought doing this for 2 minutes was impossible. I thought doing it for 1 minute 35 was impossible. And I did it. And then once you've done that experiment, your thought experiment's closed, and you go, I've proven that I can do this. You're then going to develop further experiments and further experiments. And, it might be that you go from, my thought experiment was I was going to do 2 minutes of push-ups today. Tomorrow, my thought experiment is, I bet I can't do 2 minutes of push-ups and then have a 30-second cold shower. I bet I couldn't do 2 minutes of push-ups and then, pick something, go for a run. I didn't think I could do 2 minutes of, push-ups and then I went for a coffee. I thought I'd be too tired afterwards, but I went and got myself a coffee, even though I thought I was too tired to go out and do that. And you're going to select something else and keep pushing on that vein. And what that is allowing you to do, and the ultimate secret of what that is causing, is that is allowing you to not only develop the skills of resilience, which is in the second part, which is controlling your physiology, trying to slow down your brain, it's allowing you to come up with confidence. You're seeing that you've set these experiments, you're adjusting the parameters within it, and then at some point you have set that to a level where you have achieved it. And so what does this confidence then let you do? Well, initially, and I was debating whether or not to go into sort of the mindset and the brain and how that works and how that can influence it, and obviously having ways to slow the chatter in the brain, having statements that override your natural instinct to go make it stop and go, actually, I can do this, I can endure. There are ways of doing that, and I'll maybe get into that in a later video, but essentially having done it, you then have the confidence that the next time you go and do it, even if it's for longer, you can sit there and say to yourself, quite honestly, I know I can do this, or I know I only need to do this for another 5 seconds more than I did yesterday. What is 5 seconds compared with the feeling of accomplishment I get with knowing I did that? And that is basically what you're going to do. And it is going to allow you to develop confidence, build mental toughness, build mental resilience. And essentially one of the key things about the experiments, and the reason that, maybe not reaching your target, but adjusting is good. And there's a very key lesson in this, is that yes, you might not hit the goal you originally set, but to a greater or lesser extent, you've proven that to some degree what you were doing was possible, at least a little bit. And it gives you the encouragement to get up and give it a go again. If you just said to yourself, I'm going to get up and I'm going to do cold showers every day for the rest of my life, I'm going to get up and do, 5 minutes of press-ups every morning for the rest of my life, at some point you will get bored of it. Probably within a day or two, because it sucks. Whereas when you build these sort of patterns and challenges within it, that where it becomes something that you are actively engaging in like this, and you see it as, actually, I didn't like it. It didn't last very long. I didn't like it, but actually, at the end of it, I felt like I'd achieved something. You get a little hit, you get the little reward. Whereas if you're just enduring something for the sake of enduring it, there is no little hit, and there is no reward, and there is no benefit. So that has been our little talk today on endurance and on mental toughness. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do like, comment, subscribe, and all of those good things. And I hope you have a very calm and very, very happy rest of your day.